Sometimes life gets in the way, and because of that, you can't talk about movies on the internet like you want to so desperately. So then you talk about movies that are weeks late from their release, and it's like, should I even talk about them? But you want to, because you don't want to talk about Black Adam or Wakanda Forever like everybody. You'd rather talk about other films. So that's why you're doing this video now. You're talking about Tar and the Banshees of Inisherin, because you want to talk about those more than anything else. So it's a double feature today. If times in my life show up where I need to dump a bunch of content out at once, I think I'm just going to do a couple of these videos just talking about my thoughts on films I don't have the time to do a full video on. Tar and the Banshees of Inisherin. Let's start with Tar. So I heard a lot of buzz coming out of films about this. People were like, Cate Blanchett's great. This movie's insane. Is she real? It sounds like she's a real person, but she's not a real person. So, movie made about her. And I'm like, okay. First off, Daddy will watch Cate Blanchett in anything. She is somebody I find super cool, super awesome, and I'm obsessed with. You could put her in any film, I'll be first in line. If she wants to do some weird TV show like Miss Americana, I'm first in line, baby. So she's doing this film. The only thing I knew about it was she's a conductor, and it's weird. And you know what? This is nothing like I expected this movie to be. If you haven't seen Tar yet, and it is playing at your local cinema, I do think it's worth the price of admission. It tries a bunch of new things that I don't know if a lot of audiences are ready for. One of the things in particular that's going to be a very huge point of contention, especially for a lot of younger people who don't have patience, is the overture where we get the credits at the beginning, which I love. I love that because you want to show people who worked on this film, put it at the beginning. They'll stay to watch it. This isn't an MCU piece of shit where you can just chuck a post-credit scene in there. Give us the credits at the beginning. That was awesome. And two, it is watching you fall out of love with a character, which is so rare to see. As a story progresses, your connection to a character is distancing. And I'm like, that is so cool. It's kind of like the opposite of like a film bro movie, you know, where it's like, look at this twisted guy and his takes on society. Where in this movie, we start with Lydia Tarr's ideas of society, and slowly she becomes the problem. And I think that's really cool. I don't want to get too much into spoilers for this, but the idea is Lydia Tarr, played by Cate Blanchett, is this famous conductor, one of the most famous conductors currently alive. She is a phenomenal female conductor, somebody of such importance, and she does a lot of stuff. And as the story progresses, she's working on her biggest symphony yet, and it's going to maybe change the game for her. But certain shakeups she does within her own company lead her on a path of, certain things about her behavior change the way she acts in the world, and suddenly it's a cancel culture film. And that's going to be hard for some people, and I get that, but this is a very honest way about it, where we are seeing how this affects the entire world that she is orbiting. It's kind of cool in that way, and it does it in a way you're not really expecting. First off, again, I keep saying first off, but my God, this film was just really fun to me. I liked the idea of just honing in on a specific thing that so many people don't know, but specific people are going to know every minute detail of. It's like The Bear. The Bear is a great show. It's got that vibe where it's like, you like sandwiches? Here's a show about fucking sandwiches. You know anything about conducting? Probably not. Here's a movie that shows you the weird way we set up an organization, the weird relationships we have with other people. There's a beautiful scene there's two scenes at the beginning I really like. When she's being interviewed, just talking about how, like, you connect to music. You're like, that is how a conductor would think like that. I don't think like that when I hear music. If I'm listening to it, not that I actively listen to different symphonies or composers doing symphonies, but I'm like, okay, so if you hear it played this way, this person's focusing on like the romantic tensions of this piece. That's what the orchestra is saying. And this one is more like angry and bitter, but it's the same piece of music. And I'm like, that is something I've never thought of. I guess because I'm such like a literal filmmaking guy that's what I focus on when it comes to like the actual music cues for that. I don't sit down and close my eyes to listen. That's very fascinating. The other one I really like is just how she kind of like shows you that she may not be the best person, and she's like talking to a student like, it doesn't matter what the music is. You have to separate the art from the artist. Like there's like a whole 8-minute sequence where it's just Cate Blanchett yelling at you like, Yes, the guy owned slaves. Yes, he was a piece of shit. But you cannot learn anything else without learning what that man did for this company, for this piece. And I'm like, I can't disagree with that. It's a brilliant idea that is well executed, and I enjoy that. And look, I'm a sucker for some Cate Blanchett. She has never looked sexier, in my opinion. What a very specific type that I am interested in when it comes to Blanchett in this movie. Whoever said, let's put her in oversized baggy clothes, just really slicked back hair. She's always walking around with like her sleeves rolled up and she's got her hands in her pockets, just looking like David Bowie. And I'm like, holy fuck, why is this working for me? Why do I love this woman so much? Even though she's like ruining her own career with very visible actions that are so easily spotted. It's like, what are you doing? Such a fascinating film. Something about this is so unique and brilliant and cute and fun. But also it's like, this woman ruins her own life. So you're watching a woman spiral, but it's kind of fun and she's sexy and it's cool and you just love it. And I don't know, this one, it's just so enjoyable. It has so much to say about artistry and connection. I think that's a really fascinating thing to explore that you should check out. Yes, you can go see your big blockbuster, but if Tara's playing, you are getting a certain experience in terms of filmmaking. It's trying to almost tell a story backwards, if that makes sense. There's something really cool about that. So I recommend checking it out. So Tar, I am going to give an 8 out of 10. Now, the Banshees of Inisherin. This is another one where you heard a lot of, like, just critics coming out of festivals like, holy shit, this is weird. This is a good movie. Martin McDonagh, who did 3 Billboards, was that his last one? I don't know. He's an amazing filmmaker, one of the best out there. And I think you could make the argument that this is his best film. I can't make that yet because it's a fresh movie. I'd have to experience it more. But out of every film I have seen in the past 2-3 months, I haven't stopped thinking about this one. The Banshees of Inisherin have really just implemented an idea in my head of what it's supposed to be. So there's so much to get into with this film, and I don't want to spoil it for you. Not that there's many things to spoil, but you have Brendan Gleeson and Colin Farrell, 2 guys who have been friends forever. It is 1923, and they are just these 2 guys who, like, fall apart for no reason. Gleason's character is like, I don't want to be friends with you anymore. And then Colin's like, why? So it becomes like this 2-sided narrative of like Colin trying to understand why this guy doesn't want to be friends with him and never truly clicking into what he is saying, and Gleeson suffering through what he wants to do with his life. There are so many themes in here, and you could interpret this in a bunch of different ways. People smarter than me will do that. You can see this as every lead character is going through a form of depression. What do you want to see about you when you're gone? Like, what is your legacy going to be? How quiet of a community do you want to be a part of? How important do you want to feel? How do you escape reality? Is kind of like these big themes in the depression. And you could look at it like, maybe it's just Gleeson, maybe it's Farrell, maybe it's Condon, maybe it's all of them. All of them could be depressed, and it's very scary and fascinating. And that is such a weird thing to try to accomplish with this really dark comedy. I say comedy loosely. It's hardly a comedy more than it is just saying lines the way you would say them to your friend. Because when you're with your friend, you're not always going to be serious. You're going to say something stupid and dumb. Watching this story, you find the heartbreaking moments rip you and hurt you in ways you're not expecting. You find yourself connecting to one of the leads. Look, some people are going to be a Farrell. I know people in my life that I am friends with that would be a Farrell if I was the Gleeson. I connected with Gleeson. Just that idea. There's a beautiful scene kind of in the middle of the film where it's just like, I can't just sit around and talk to you anymore. Like, we've done that our whole lives. We're not slowing down that. I want there to be something of me when I'm gone. And you could do that as depression. You could do that as just finding legacy or just hatred and resentment. And you see like this world that is moving and you're not moving with it. There's all that you could present there. And I get that. So people are going to connect to Gleeson. I know a bunch of people are going to connect to Gleeson. People are going to connect to Farrell where it's like, why can't we just sit down and talk forever? Why can't we do the mundane thing? We're friends. It shouldn't be boring for us just to communicate. And it doesn't matter who you are in that. You're going to feel both sides either way. And look, the writing, wickedly sharp, wickedly clever. Every character is so intent on what they're doing, where they're just amazed at the actions other characters are taking. It's got that small town community feel where everybody knows everything. You can't just be left alone to yourself. And I get that. It is real. It is intense. The setting is beautiful. Now, I'm sure they filmed it over there in Ireland. They'd have to have, because it looks just like that. And it's beautiful. The cinematography is beautiful. The natural lighting is beautiful. The costuming is beautiful. So many just small moments where you're just watching guys walk animals down the street. You're watching a carriage go by, and you're like, holy shit, why does this look so beautiful? Why is it so powerful? It's creative. It's crazy. So many it's a heartbreaking film when you start thinking about it. You can look at this on the surface, and I understand a lot of people will, where it's just like, okay, yeah, this guy doesn't want to be his friend. He wants to just tell him to fuck off and do his other thing. Then you just look at it like these two guys who have nothing else, and that could kind of be the tragedy of it. Neither of them want to be like the dumbfounded idiot. And when you do that, it is kind of a little bit more intense. And you're like, oh shit, the world really isn't slowing down, and what do you have to show for it? You know, it's totally that. It's so bleak in that execution. And maybe it's because that's how I think too. Again, I really connected with Gleason in this, because I get it, where you're just, sometimes you just have that moment in your life where you just go, what are they going to remember me for? I can't just sit here all day. I can't just do nothing. I need a legacy to leave me behind. Maybe I have to do extremes to show the people I'm serious about this. And maybe when that exists, I'm finally content. But you're never content. And then the fact that a film this year is making me think about these things impresses me, because we don't see this anymore. We really don't. 3 Billboards was fantastic and beautiful and strong, but it kind of presented that in a different way than what the Banshees of Inisherin are doing here. This is intense. This is gripping. This is terrifying. It's so good. Deeply good, deeply effective. If it's in your town, if it's in your theater, you have to see this. I think this is a must watch of the year, where it's like, if you want to see like a post-COVID film really fuck you up, I think it's actually both of these films. With the Banshees of Inisherin, it's going to do it a little bit more. I loved this. I really did love this. So, the Banshees of Inisherin, I am going to give a 9 out of 10. Now, thank you guys for watching this double feature. If we do another one, Weird Al will probably be in there. I still haven't watched that yet. So, thank you guys for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and maybe Twitter. We'll see what happens. But I'll catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck.